Hey you, welcome to my channel, A Year and a Day. My name is Jenny and today I would like to chat about my updated planner and journaling setup for 2025. It's a very grey and moody day today in my little corner of the world, and we are actually experiencing the first snow of the year today. So I've scooted all the way over to my window to try and have some sort of lighting, and I hope that will be okay for the video. I also haven't fully recovered from a series of colds and flu and some other health issues that I've been dealing with lately. Nothing serious, but just a bit draining and very inconvenient. But today I just felt like chatting about some fun stuff. And for me at the moment, my planner and journaling setup for 2025 has been occupying my mind. I've had so much fun watching so many videos of journal and planner setups on YouTube. And it's also been a lot of fun to keep working on my own system. I will put a link in the description box below to the first video I did on my planner and journaling setup for 2025, where I went over all of the things that I have been trying in the past that have been working for me or that haven't been working, to try and figure out where to go from here. And since I recorded that video, I have been trying out some things and rethinking some things, and I ended up also adding a few things. And right at the moment where I started to worry that maybe I was taking on too much or maybe I was just making it too complicated, I realized that my setup actually matched the tarot. And from the moment that I realized that, my worries kind of went away. Because suddenly it made so much sense to me the way that I am setting up for next year. So what I want to do in this video is go over my setup again and update you on the things that have changed since my last video. And I will also use that structure of the tarot to go through the setup that I've created for myself. My setup is currently consisting of 4 categories, so we will go over those. But there is one category that is still a bit up in the air. So after going through those 4 categories, I will circle back to that one category and just do a little bit of brainstorming and sharing my ideas about how I want to go from here. So grab a drink, a snack, a blanket, a journal, or a crafty project to keep you company, and let's dive in. So I just grabbed my copy of the Lighted Window Tarot, which seemed very fitting for these dark and cozy months. I also really love the message in the box here that can very easily be related to journaling as well. Now, like I mentioned, when creating my setup for 2025, I suddenly realized that I could relate my whole setup to the tarot. And what I meant by that was relating it to the 4 suits of the minor arcana, meaning that all the parts of my journaling practice are related to one of these 4 categories. And let's start with the swords. Within the tarot, the swords are related to the element of air and to things that relate to the mind and to thought and rational thinking. And for me, this perfectly aligns with my journaling practice relating to my mental health. And that's the journal practice for which I'm using tarot and oracle decks. This is the part of my practice that has been with me the longest. Or at least the journaling about my emotions, about my struggles, about certain issues or questions within my life. Writing down those feelings and thoughts became a real outlet and coping mechanism and survival strategy during my teenage years. And finally, I also incorporated tarot and oracle decks with that practice. Now, I have recorded a separate video about this part of my practice already, but I am not sure yet when I will be able to edit that, or if I have already published it, or if I will publish it after this video. If it's online, I will put a link in the description down below. But the swords and this part of my practice are a perfect match, because I come to this journal to really rationalize and try to analyze all my feelings, my thoughts, the situation that I'm dealing with. It's something that has helped me a lot throughout my life, and I cannot imagine ever really going without this part of my practice. So that's why my journaling for mental health relates most to the Suit of Swords. The Suit of Pentacles relates to the element of earth and is all about earthly things, earthly possessions, and working on your goals. And that perfectly matches my planner for 2025. This one I also showed in my first video about my setup. As I mentioned in my previous video, I've never been much of a planner. And I've actually decided years and years ago that analog planning is just not for me. I have used planners in high school and during my days at college, but somewhere along the way I switched to a digital planner. And that's where I still keep all of my appointments and birthdays and stuff like that. What I also love to use on a daily basis is a plain notebook for checklists or to-do lists. But I realized that that system wasn't really working for me anymore. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I will briefly say that my ADHD diagnosis of last year, at the age of 39, meant a lot to me. It explained a lot of things that happened in my life and a lot of things that were happening in my mind. So getting that diagnosis was a real eye-opener for me, and also a gateway to better understanding myself and getting the help that I need. And I also think that that diagnosis is maybe related to the fact that I am just very, very bad at adulting. I am lacking structure. I forget about a lot of things, especially when they are out of sight, they are out of mind. And the current setup I had going on with that digital planner and a plain notebook, that just wasn't bringing me the structure that I need. And I've said this in my previous video as well. I don't think that getting myself a planner is the solution to all of my problems. But I do really feel like I can really benefit from a system that brings me structure and overview. and after considering a lot of options, I ended up with the Hobonichi Techo A6 size. The A6 size has monthly overviews and then a page a day. Now, what I was really missing in this structure was the weekly overviews. And that's why I decided to add a little weekly insert by Hobonichi. And this one is just very simple. It has weekly spreads for the year, and that's it. And as you can see, this is a vertical way of planning, which felt like a good choice for me. I felt that I need to do some things like taking my medications or stuff like that at certain times in the week. And this just felt like a system where I could have the most overview and structure for those set times, as well as have some additional space for appointments or chores or stuff like that. Now, this is my first Hobonichi planner. And when I first laid eyes on it, I thought, oh my, it's so small. Have I made a mistake? Because even you have a whole page for a day, A6 size just isn't that big. And especially the weekly, which is a little bit smaller. And then of course the monthly overviews are also pretty tiny. And for a moment I really thought I had made a mistake and that I should have gone for the A5 size. But I also had a very clear reason for not going for that A5 size, and that was that it was just a bit too big on my desk. It would be less convenient to throw in my bag if I want to take it with me. And also, if you want to have an overview of the daily tasks and the weekly overview, you have to go back and forth in the same notebook. So I very consciously chose the A6 size, and I really like the idea of having that weekly spread and the daily tasks next to each other. Also, if I have a doctor's appointment or something, I can just throw this in my bag and can very easily schedule follow-up appointments without having to bring everything with me. So I did think it through, but still when I got it, I thought, will this work for me? So I actually decided to just try it out. And I did that very simply by just scanning 2 pages from the daily planner and then 1 page for the weekly. And this is just on very cheap normal printer paper, so it's not really the experience that you have with the lovely Tomoe river paper that Hobonichi uses, but this was all about that practicality, which is exactly, of course, why I have paired it up with the suit of Pentacles. This is all about getting stuff done, about doing my chores, about setting my goals, about working towards those things, and to really just ground myself in that earthly realm and not get lost in all the other fun things that I could do with my life, but just have a place where I am grounded in reality. And the reality is that I have a day job and a house to upkeep and social appointments and stuff like that. So I basically just started out with experimenting with these pages. I tried some things with the layouts, and it was so much fun to just give it a try before actually settling into this planner. Like I said, this has been my first analog planner for many years. So I just need to get used to it a bit and develop a system that will work for me. And this was just a great way to experiment with that. And I am very happy to report that it actually worked out great for me. Yes, I have to write a lot smaller than I'm used to, but it also forced me to keep it clean and simple and really figure out a good structure on the page to keep the overview without feeling like I had a lot of space to fill or waste. So just like with my journal for mental health, which is very rooted in my practice, I feel very confident that this is also going to work for me in 2025. And that is the suit of Pentacles with my daily practical planner, the Hobonichi Decho A6. The suit of Wands in the tarot is related to the element of fire, passion and creativity. And this was exactly what I had been lacking in my current setup. I had my mental health journal, which was very analytic and related to problem solving. But to be honest, I really started to miss that element of creativity within my journaling practice. In my previous video, I have talked a bit about daily journaling and some other things that I tried over the years, and it never just really worked out for me. But for 2025, I decided to give it another go. And I decided to go for the Midori Hibino. Now this is the purchase that I've thought through the least. This was the first thing I got, and in retrospect I should have really given it more thought before purchasing. Now I think we can safely say that I don't have issues with spending money on my hobbies. My creativity and creative outlets are one of the biggest joys of my life, and I don't mind splurging a bit on it. What I have been trying to avoid in the last couple of years is rushing into purchases. I've really been trying to avoid impulse buying stuff that won't work for me or that I will not be using, and to really give more thought to the things that I am bringing into my home. But yet here I was, inspired and tempted by the beautiful Midori Hibino, because it seemed like a perfect fit to use as a creative journal. Now I got the Midori Hibino when I wasn't completely sure yet about what that creative journaling practice would look like for me. My initial thought was this. I've tried a lot of creative journals or planners over the years, but I was always battling this really severe case of perfectionism. I also had a lot of trouble by just keeping up a daily practice. But when I look at a blank notebook, for example, that's been on my desk for a year and that I've just been using for random checklists and pen tests and quotes and stuff like that, it's not perfect by all means, but I really, really love the idea of that. To have this one place where you can just note down all kinds of things. And if I wanted to keep daily memories there as well, that would be great, but it wouldn't be an obligation for that book. It would be kind of a commonplace book and a daily journal. And that is kind of what drew me to the Midori Hibino, because apart from some monthly spreads, this whole planner consists of daily pages, but you get 2 pages a day. And in my mind, this was less intimidating than getting a Hobonichi A5 planner, for example, where you would have an A5 page to fill. Just the fact that these were 2 pages where I could have some daily memories or things that I was up to, as well as a quote or a few stickers, that just really seemed like a good fit for me. Now, what I did not think through enough was the fact that this already is a very chunky little book. And if I were to fill this up with stickers and washi tape, or maybe pictures or ephemera that I am collecting throughout the year, then this would bulk up significantly. So I still love the idea of having a creative journaling practice. I also still really love the Midori Hibino and this beautiful yellow cover that I got for it. But this is the category that I need to rethink a bit. But let's first move on to the 4th and final category of my planner and journal setup, and then circle back to figuring this out. The final suit is the suit of cups. And cups are related to the element of water. And it's all about feelings and emotions. Now, I actually mentioned in my initial setup video that I am using my traveler's notebook to track some health stuff. I won't show the actual contents of these booklets because they are quite personal, but the idea is this. I have this undated monthly spread insert where I basically track whatever it is that I want to track in a month. Mainly it relates to my mood, my cycle, my emotions, but also physical health. Am I under the weather? Am I experiencing any other issues? I try to kind of map it out in these spreads. And I've started doing that this year, and it's been really helpful for me. I often feel like a lot is going on in both my body and my mind, and especially after being diagnosed with ADHD and really working on trying to learn about that and trying to understand that better for myself. It really helped to write down what was going on every month, because it's so easy to forget a lot of stuff. But there can be patterns, or some things might be related without you even realizing it. So in order to kind of get a grip on that, I started filling out these monthly spreads. In addition, I have another insert. This is one of the grid inserts, and this one I use basically during my therapy to take some notes or to prepare for certain sessions and to just write down my thoughts or my goals or my questions. And these together kind of filled that purpose for me. And in my previous video, I actually was completely planning on just continuing with these monthly spreads to do so. But then I realized how useful this actually is for me. And the monthly spreads don't really have enough space to really write down all the things that I want to write down. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I could add a weekly insert to my traveler's notebook, or maybe even get a weekly and a monthly insert for 2025 to put in here and start using those. Now, however much I absolutely adore my traveler's notebooks and this whole system, which I have been using for I don't even know how long, at least 10 years, I do always tend to get out the inserts before writing in them. And for something that I want to use every single day, that I want to just very quickly note down along the way what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, anything that's of note for me. I don't want it to take a lot of time. I want it to be easily accessible. And I don't want to have it be a hassle. I want it to be just like a sort of support system for my mental and physical health. Just a little logbook that I can fall back on whenever I need to throughout the year. For example, when I'm meeting with doctors or something, then a log of that sort would be really useful for me. And this is where I have a new addition to my 2025 setup to introduce to you. Because yes, I decided to get a Hobonichi Weeks. When it came down to the costs, it actually wasn't that much of a difference between getting one Hobonichi Weeks or the 2 inserts that I would need for my traveler's notebook. And just the fact that I can just throw this in my setup and have it be very easily accessible, where I can have the monthly overviews, weekly overviews, including additional notes, and then also have those clear note pages in the back for when I'm trying to prepare for something or have some questions or anything like that. Now, I have no idea if this will be enough room for me. That's something that I will need to just try out and experience this year. But I'm very happy that I decided to add this one to my 2025 setup. But it was at that moment where I thought, oh no, now I'm getting another planner. Aren't I getting in way over my head? Am I not just making it way too complicated? But then it all kind of came together when I realized that this concluded the 4 suits of the tarot for me. I have that mental health journal for figuring stuff out and rationalizing and analyzing that relates to the sword suit. Then I have my grounded, practical daily planner for chores and overview and structure that relates so well to the suit of Pentacles. Then we have the suit of Wands, full of creativity. And in conclusion, we have the suit of Cups. And this is the category in which I am giving myself a tool to help support my mental and physical well-being. I decided not to get a cover for this one, but just a clear cover to protect the actual design on the weeks. I really loved the colors on this one. It fits in perfectly with the rest of my setup. But I really just try to keep it simple. I added some stickers with cats in different moods. And also a sticker sheet relating to yoga. And because I was already used to kind of having a separate place for tracking those health related topics, this doesn't feel like an overwhelm or as if I'm tracking double stuff. Where my Hobonichi A6 is really related to chores and to-do lists and appointments. This is all about doing and action and making sure that I get things done. Where this is a bit more slow paced, and this year it's been something that I either fill out daily or that I backtrack for a few days. You know, if I'm just feeling okay and nothing really mentionable is happening, then I can just backtrack. But I can really fall back on it if necessary. And I also really love the fact that I now have a little bit more space to write down some more thoughts, just a little bit more detail about the things that I am experiencing. It would also be a great place to maybe track my workouts and physical movements, because being physically active is something that I very easily forget to do. It's much more easy for me to get in a creative mode and just completely lose myself in crocheting a sweater or creating illustrations or journaling or working with my tarot cards. Those are all things that I really love to do and I can lose myself in completely. But really having the attention for my physical form, to say it like that, is something that I really need to keep in mind, because when I don't, I will suffer the consequences. Meaning that my body will start aching, and having both a day job behind the desk as well as a lot of hobbies behind the desk is just really not a good combination. So these Hobonichi weeks seem just like a perfect addition to my setup to really focus on that. And that kind of concludes my setup with the Suit of Cups. Now let's circle back to that creative category, because I need to brainstorm for a little bit. So as you can see, I kind of started this book with a list of ideas of things that I would like to do with a book like this. And this was also meant as inspiration for, just that daily journaling practice. I don't want to rush myself or force myself to have a daily journal every day. But there are so many other fun things that you can write about on a daily basis. When you are listening to a podcast and you hear something inspiring, then that's something to write down. Or a gratitude list, little happies, insights of the day, TV, movie, book inspiration, pen test and color swatches, or just have stickers, washi and illustration in there. Like I said, I love this idea, but the Midori Hibino is something that I really started second guessing. Now, I haven't done a lot with this book yet, apart from some pen tests and got a sticker in there. So I could try to sell it, but I also really love this whole setup. And this was also not cheap. The Midori Hibino is not a cheap planner. It's a beautiful planner, but it's not cheap. And together with the cover, it was kind of an investment in something that I was really enthusiastic about. But I also do not want to feel limited, especially not in my creative journaling practice. The tool that I will be using for that should be something that gives me the freedom to do whatever it is that I want. And I felt really bad and bummed out when I realized that I might have made the wrong decision with going with the Hibino for that purpose. I considered a few things. I thought maybe I could use this one as a daily planner, for the Pentacles suit, my practical daily planner. And it would give me a little bit more room and I would still have that weekly insert. Now, the thing with these is, and I'm not sure if you can actually see it on camera with this incredibly crappy lighting that we're experiencing here at the moment, but the Midori Hibino has cream colored paper and Hobonichi uses white paper. That alone irked me a bit, I'm not going to lie. And also, I just really loved the setup with the Hobonichi weekly insert and my Hobonichi A6. So this just works way too well for me. This is a perfect setup and I don't want to switch it out for the Hibino. So I went back and forth a bit. There was a moment where I was just like, who cares, just start working with it, start using stickers and whatever it is you want and just see what will happen. Then I found a video by another YouTuber. I will link her channel down below as well. Her channel is called @ElizaJournals here on YouTube. And she actually used the Midori Hibino this year as her creative journal. And she uses a lot of stickers. And her journals are really beautiful. However, she posted a video a few weeks ago showing her Hibino. And it was so incredibly chunky that I really decided to definitely not use this one for that purpose. I just cannot deal with the epic level of chunk of that thing. It was so bulky, and I just decided to accept the fact that even though this is very beautiful, it is not exactly right for the things that I want to do with it. So I decided to accept my losses and invest in another addition to my 2025 setup in the category of creative journaling. Could I have gone for a cheaper planner or a plain notebook? Sure. But I'm in it now anyway, so why not go all the way in? And that's why I decided to get the Hobonichi Techo 2025 cousin in the A5 size, and I decided to go for the Avec. Now I just received these, so I cannot share a lot of thoughts on it yet. The only thing that I can already say about it is that I am not as intimidated by the A5 size pages as I was expecting. I think there's a lot of ways to fill this in and it doesn't have to be filled in all the way. I think it is doable to use this planner for next year. I also really love the fact that I chose to go for the Avec for two reasons. First of all, now I can add stickers, pictures, illustrations, whatever it is that I want, and it can bulk up and it won't be too bulky throughout the year. But I also really love the idea of being able to switch mid-year to a new journal. I know with my ADHD it can be very hard to commit to things. I love new things, I love new challenges, new pretty things, and a year can be a very long time. And this just seemed like the perfect way to kind of trick myself, or to, let's put it in a more positive light, to inspire myself halfway through the year. Because then I can start out fresh, I can decorate everything again, and it just is another opportunity for creativity and for inspiration, instead of having to work with the same book for a whole year, especially since this is the creative part of my practice. Now, I do not have a cover for these yet. I am not sure if I will be getting a cover for them. I do have a clear Midori cover for the Midori notebooks in A5 size, and apparently they are also able to fit the Hobonichi, and I think I will try that out. I think I will just decorate this with stickers and fun stuff and then put a clear cover on it and use it that way. Now the A5 size Hobonichi has monthly spreads. but also weekly spreads, and then the daily spreads. So even though I do not really like the colors of these notebooks and will definitely try to cover them up as much as possible with stickers and stuff, I am really happy with my first impressions of them. I feel like these will fit my needs better than the Midori Hibino. That being said, I am not completely sure yet what to do with this whole category. I do know that a creative part is missing in my journaling practice at the moment. That never really had a place in my mental health journal, and I don't want to combine those two. But one of my kind of goals for the upcoming period of time, but also 2025, is to get a bit more out of my head and focus a bit more on my actions. I think that mental health journal, that's really a place to rationalize and analyze. And that's always been a very good coping mechanism for me, but it's also exactly that, a coping mechanism. And sometimes you can spend too much time on the analytics of things. At least for me, that's something that I realized during therapy this year, that I have become an expert at workshopping myself. I am always trying to figure out what the issue is and trying to solve the problem, when sometimes it's just a lot better to sit back for a bit and breathe and not go there. So for me personally, that is a major challenge, because for my entire life that's been kind of my default mode. So to get back more in touch with my feelings, with my emotions, with the physical world, with action, with creativity, that is quite a challenge for me, but one that I feel really, really good about. And I'm sharing this mainly just to illustrate that I do feel that it is the right time for me to give that creativity a place in my journaling practice. I also had a very important rule about this category when I talked about it in my first video. And that was that I really had to leave perfectionism at the door. My vision for that creative journal was really a gathering place of notes and tryouts and color and lists and just anything that was on my mind at that moment. What I've noticed in the past few weeks is that I've been kind of going two places with it. At the one hand, I would like to have more of a daily journaling practice, meaning to really just have a place to record my life. And of course, Hobonichi is perfect for that and is being used that way by a lot of people. And it's been such a joy to dive into that and to look at all these examples. Of course, then it is very easy to get sucked into it and to strive for that perfectionism. I have to say, up until now, I am not feeling that a whole lot, and I am happy to realize that. I truly want to capture my life in these books. I want to capture the things that I find interesting or beautiful. And I'm just going to do that my way, and I'm going to try some things out, and some spreads might be more beautiful than others, but for me it's really just the practice that really attracts me. The mindfulness about it, the finding the beauty in the everyday and documenting that. And for some days that might be just a quote, for some days that might be just an illustration or a sticker. For some day it might be a lot of words to describe the day, but I do feel a lot of freedom when it comes to that in these books. I just have to figure out exactly how I would like to use the daily pages, and especially then the weeks and the months, and I am not done brainstorming that yet. And it will be fun for the upcoming month or so to really try and figure that out. And I'm sure by January I will be ready to go. But this does differ a lot from my initial thought. Because my initial thought was to have this kind of commonplace book that I would drag along with me everywhere, that I could just note down random stuff, doesn't matter what it looks like, etc. And now suddenly with the Hobonichi, I do picture, more daily journaling or some pictures, or really capturing my daily life and life events here. So that's kind of a different take on it, I guess. So I don't have a conclusion for you yet. I am still really trying to work this out and trying to brainstorm about it. Right now I feel like I would love to use the Hobonichi A5 as that daily journaling practice, but not really force myself or limit myself to specific daily write-ups or having it be super detailed, but just to kind of go with the flow and see whatever it is that is happening at that day or what I feel like doing. Just anything to not suffocate the fun out of it for myself. That also means that for those little notes that I want to take, or lists, or just that general commonplace notebook kind of feel, I don't think I would use the Hobonichi A5 for that purpose. So I am kind of thinking about using the Hibino for that. Honestly, if this practice will work for me and I would continue it in 2026, I cannot imagine myself spending the money on a fancy, beautiful Hibino to use as kind of a dumping ground for notes and something that I want to drag along with me everywhere. I think a cheap, clear notebook would have sufficed for that. And that's kind of the lesson that I think I've already learned from this experience within this creative category. This is really something that I should have thought through more. To really decide for myself why I want to use this, what I want to use it for, and what tools I need for that. Like I said, I could try to sell the Hibino, but I have it now anyway, and it's pretty. The money is spent. Why not give it a try? So that is kind of where I am at right now. This is the only category of the 4 where I'm still not really sure if I am maybe taking on too much or expecting too much of myself. At the same time, it also still feels like a beautiful playground. This creative category is allowed to be fun, and I can experiment and play around, and I now have 2 beautiful tools to see what will work for me and what will not. And I might sit here in a few months from now or in a year from now telling you that daily journaling is really not for me. And that's something that I thought before, and I'm giving it one final try and we'll see how it will go. So for now, this is my setup in the creative journaling category. So that's it. That's my updated 2025 journal and planner setup. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know in the comments what kind of setup you are using or will be using. And if you have any tips or tricks for me, especially for those creative journals, feel free to let me know. I love to chat with you in the comments. And with all of that being said, I wish you all a lovely rest of your day or night, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!